Welcome, superstar. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to help other people build self-esteem. I'm going to start this video with a little bit about why building self-esteem can be hard, especially when you're trying to help somebody else do it. I'm going to talk about what it takes to build self-esteem, and I'm going to give you the 6 strategies that I've developed to help build self-esteem in someone else. Let's go. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here. I think you already know, most likely, if you've seen any of my videos, that I'm absolutely not a Debbie Downer. And I do want to be realistic and address the fact that it can be challenging to build self-esteem, and especially challenging to help somebody else build self-esteem. And the reason for that is that self-esteem is not something that's logical or rational. You might see somebody who has low self-esteem, who's talented and smart and funny and beautiful, and be like, why don't you have self-esteem? Get with the program already. Wake up. You're worthy, you're worthwhile, right? But the truth is that it doesn't come from a rational place. It's not logical. People's relationship to themselves, their self-esteem, how they view themselves, how they value themselves, is something that comes from deep, deep within the subconscious. And usually it's years and years of patterns and conditioning from childhood. In other words, rationality is irrelevant. These subconscious beliefs can be so ingrained and so ridiculous, to be honest, that it can be frustrating to help somebody build self-esteem. Self-esteem ultimately is an inside job. So all you can do is support somebody in helping them do it for themselves. You telling them they're amazing over and over and over again and giving them all the reasons and rationality of why they should feel worthy and worthwhile is never going to change the way they feel about themselves. They need to do that from the inside out. So here's the solution. We want to address the underlying lack of self-esteem by giving the person opportunities again and again to see themselves in a new way, to experience themselves in a new way, not just to think about it, but to actually feel it and live it. And it happens one step at a time, one experience at a time. There's no one thing that's going to fix all of the self-esteem and automatically shoot it up through the roof. Often people can have an experience or a moment of self-esteem and really feeling worthy and amazing, and then in the next minute somebody might say something and boom, it comes crashing down. So you as the person who's helping the other person build self-esteem, you've got to have patience. Patterns and habits like this can take a while to sink in and settle and become embodied. You can even think about it as reparenting someone, because usually it's the parenting or those initial childhood experiences that created the problems with self-esteem in the first place. And if you can help somebody learn to reparent themselves, well, that's even better. So what does that look like? Well, before I dive into it, I want to invite you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and maybe even post a comment or a question below about your own journey with self-esteem or with helping somebody else develop their self-esteem. So here are the 6 things that you can do to help somebody build up their self-esteem. The first one is to commit to yourself to always seeing that person as the best version of them, through the eyes of love. When we choose and decide that we are going to see somebody as their best self, they have much more of an opportunity to see themselves as their best self. Chances are somewhere in their childhood, somebody didn't see them that way. Somebody ridiculed them or abused them or hurt them or maligned them, and they thought that they were less than. And so this is that whole concept of reparenting. If you can, as a loving parent, experience this person and choose to always view them as their best self, then that's going to go a long way toward helping them see themselves that way too. The second thing is to hold people's identity loosely. Here's what I mean by that. Rather than fixing, or as my mentor Nani Leah calls it, freezing somebody into a specific way of being, I want to invite you to consider allowing people to recreate themselves day to day, moment to moment, rather than fixing them as you are this way. When we project that onto somebody, they can often take that on themselves. If we project onto a child, for example, from, let's say, a little person, a child at 2 years old, is in a new environment and they hide behind their mother's skirt. They're going to a new kindergarten or something. And let's say the mom's like, oh, she's just being shy. Okay, she's being shy. But let's say this behavior happens a couple times in a row or 3 or 4 times in a row. Mother might say, well, she is shy. Now that becomes an identity. That becomes who they are. We want to be really careful separating someone's behavior from their identity, right? So when I ask you to hold somebody loosely and not fix or freeze them in a certain way of being, that's what I'm talking about, saying you are this way. That's not helpful. Even if it's a positive thing, it can be a way of fixing or freezing someone in a certain way of being based on what you want and what you believe. And what we want to do is give people an opportunity to rediscover themselves and recreate themselves day to day. So I invite you to hold people lightly. I have a mentor who says something very beautiful, that she allows her family, her husband and her son, to reveal themselves to her anew every single day. And I found like that was a really beautiful way to relate to other people and letting them find themselves in our presence rather than fixing them or telling them who they need to be for us. Now, along with seeing someone as their best self and not fixing or freezing them, this doesn't mean enabling unhelpful or maladaptive behavior. One other thing that you can really do that'll serve others and helping them build self-esteem is holding standards and boundaries and inviting them to rise to those standards and boundaries. So rather than letting someone off the hook or punishing them or castigating them for doing something a certain way, what you can do instead is hold a certain standard. So for example, let's say you're helping someone develop their self-esteem and they feel like they're not worthy. And you know that they're capable of something that they're not doing or that they're not trying. For example, you might have a client, a coaching client, that you're helping to develop more confidence in their business, more self-esteem. And so one thing that you can do is if you find that they're, for example, showing up late over and over again, and it's really impacting their relationship with you, it's impacting the work you're doing together, and you suspect that they're doing this with their clients or they're doing this in their life outside of just your relationship, you can set a new standard, a new boundary. Like, hey, if you want to have this relationship and you want us to work together, then here's the standard. You show up on time every single time, no matter what. And if you don't, we lose the session or some other thing. And that gives them a standard to rise to, that they can choose to either rise to or not. But not punishing them. It's just like, here's the consequence of not rising to that standard. And then when they do rise to it or don't, you address the behavior, not the identity. So rather than you were late, you didn't show up, you're a procrastinator, you're a loser, you're bad, right? Instead, we want to say, hey, you didn't show up, so we're not going to have our call this week. Let's see what happens next week. Are you willing to show up on time? And what can you put into place so that you can do it? And then when they do it, really acknowledging the behavior. Wow, I really witness you showing up and being devoted to this work that we're doing together. And then instead of saying, well, you're a good person now because you did it, instead recognizing the behavior and witnessing that instead of the identity. Which leads me to number 5, which is all about witnessing as a strategy for helping someone rise. This is a behavior, this is a concept I learned from my mentor, Nanilea Diamond, and it comes from her feminine leadership principles and practices. And it's the idea of witnessing. So witnessing is about recognizing what is showing up from a neutral place, not a place of projecting. So for example, recognizing and witnessing someone when they're totally aligned with what they said they were going to do. For example, I witness you being devoted. I witness you stepping up to the plate. I witness you really showing up in this case. So witnessing is a way of acknowledging somebody's behavior, acknowledging the ways that they are stepping into more and more greatness without projecting anything onto their identity or fixing or freezing them. Does that make sense? And then finally, my advice is to not let people off the hook, to hold them to those standards, to raise the standards over time so that people can experience themselves rising to the challenge. And that generally over time will help to build self-esteem. If you are a coach or a consultant or someone who's leading others to transform their life, and part of that work involves helping people build their self-esteem, then maybe I can help you build and grow your business. If you're curious about learning how you can scale your operation so that you spend less time and less effort, but still make more money and have a better, more joyful experience of your business, let's connect. You can find me at superstardiscoverycall.com or just click on the link below, and it's free. I look forward to meeting you.